Do you know how the CIA, the world's most powerful intelligence agency, was fooled for 9 years? How one after another, the CIA's most valuable agents suddenly disappeared, while even the world's best spies had no idea where their most secret information was being leaked from.
And how did this multi-billion-dollar game of blood-curdling betrayal finally collapse just because of a small piece of paper thrown in a common dustbin? The most incredible thing about this story is that the enemy was not outside the CIA.
He entered the CIA headquarters every day through the same main door. He passed the same high-security checkpoint. He walked through the same corridors and sat in the same conference rooms.
And at the end of the day, he silently delivered America's most secret and sensitive information to the Russian KGB. Who was this mastermind? He is none other than the CIA's own counterintelligence officer, Aldrich Ames.
One of the most notorious spies in U.S. history, Aldrich Ames.
Aldrich Ames.
Aldrich Ames.
Aldrich Ames.
Today, we will tell this story from beginning to end. How this betrayal began, how it remained undetected for 9 years, and what the final verdict was in court. Watch the video until the end, because that moment at the end, where a man stood before the judge and confessed to his own face the real reason for his betrayal, is the most uncomfortable truth of this entire story. The time was 1957. At the age of just 16, young Aldrich Ames first stepped into the mysterious world of the CIA. His career began as a very ordinary office assistant or clerk at the CIA headquarters during the summer vacation.
His primary responsibility was to organize documents, exchange files, or perform small office tasks. Although it seemed like a very ordinary part-time job from the outside, for Aldrich it was an open gateway, the first step into the abyss of the intelligence world.
Over time, the CIA did not just become his workplace or a means of earning money. Rather, it became his inevitable future. 1962. Aldrich Ames officially joined the CIA as a full-fledged officer.
At first, he was just like 10 other ordinary officers, a familiar face hidden in a crowd of routine tasks, small duties, and thousands of secret documents. But over time, his scope of responsibility increased. Due to his special skills in Russian and his deep knowledge of the Soviet intelligence system, he was sent to Ankara, Turkey. Later, he was assigned to important positions in New York and Mexico City. With each new posting, some secret doors opened for him, keys that were completely unimaginable for ordinary officers. At one point, Ames was assigned to a highly sensitive section of the CIA, where America's most secret information flowed in and out every day. The CIA's secret sources spread across the Soviet mainland. Double agents, all dangerous operations, the agency's code names, and top secret methods of communication. Everything was at his fingertips. It was a treasure trove of information, a single page of which could collapse the entire intelligence network built over decades of blood and sweat in an instant. To those who entrusted him with this huge responsibility, Ames was a 100% reliable and trustworthy officer. His calm demeanor, years of experience working in the agency, and his act of following the rules made him beyond suspicion. As a result, no one ever felt the need to keep an eye on him. But behind this ordinary appearance, his life outside the office was completely different and ugly. His first marriage had collapsed by then. After his divorce from his wife Nancy Sagebarth in 1983, he had to pay a huge amount of financial compensation. As a result, Ames sank into a sea of debt overnight. He could not even afford to pay his ordinary credit card bills. It was at this extremely critical moment that Rosario Casas Dupuy entered his life. Rosario was a Colombian woman whom Ames himself had recruited as an informant or source for the CIA while he was in Mexico City. Their relationship gradually blossomed into a deep love affair, and the unrealistic expenses of Rosario's luxurious lifestyle grew in tandem.
The result was a stark contrast. Every morning, Ames would enter CIA headquarters as a respected official with billions of dollars in information, and every night he would return home a bankrupt, debt-ridden, and disoriented man. 1985. The Cold War was at its peak. Washington and Moscow were locked in an information war, and Aldrich Ames realized that he had some documents in his hands that the enemy was willing to pay any price for. April 16, 1985. The day in Washington, D.C. began like any other ordinary day.
However, senior CIA officer Aldrich Ames stepped onto the path of a crime that no one in the agency could have ever imagined. He walked straight into the Soviet embassy in Washington. Completely on his own accord, he introduced himself to the KGB officers and began the information exchange. At first, the KGB officials could not believe that a top CIA official was offering to become a double agent, but it took a few minutes for that suspicion to disappear. Ames handed them a list of top secret documents which contained the true identities of the CIA's most valuable agents and sources working inside the Soviet Union. The KGB gave him $50,000 in cash at the first meeting. Over the next 9 years, Moscow would pay him more than $2 million. The largest amount of money ever paid to an American by a Soviet spy in U.S. history. Ames left the embassy that day with a large sum of money in his pocket, but he had left behind his professional loyalty, sense of responsibility, and credibility with his country. The KGB wasted no time. Based on the documents Ames provided, they launched one operation after another. The people who had risked their lives to spy for America suddenly realized that their identities had been exposed. Many sources were arrested at work. Many disappeared forever. Because of this document, at least 10 top sources were arrested and later executed by the Soviet authorities. News began to arrive one after another at CIA headquarters, Langley. Their best sources were disappearing. The intelligence chiefs first thought that the communication code might have been broken, but the terrible truth that someone was sitting inside their own house as an enemy, this terrible truth did not occur to anyone for a long time. On the other hand, Ames, who was burdened with debt, suddenly became the owner of a huge fortune overnight. In 1985, he married Rosario and began a luxurious life, which was in no way compatible with the salary of an ordinary government official.
The beginning of the 1990s.
After 9 consecutive years of failed operations, the CIA was forced to form a special task force jointly with the FBI. This time, the strategy was changed. The investigators took the money into account. Because it is easy to lie, but it is impossible to completely erase the traces of expenses. The investigators were shocked when they examined the bank accounts, assets, and lifestyles of all CIA officers. How did Aldrich Ames buy a huge house worth nearly $500,000 and a luxury Jaguar overnight? Ames became a prime suspect. A 24-hour silent surveillance began. Ames was very careful. He would not leave any direct evidence behind. But no matter how experienced the criminal, he would make a mistake somewhere or the other. One day, investigators collected some papers thrown away from the garbage or dustbin of Ames's house. And inside that ordinary garbage, they found a small piece of paper on which was written part of a top secret code. This single clue unraveled the tangle of a 9-year mystery. The map of Ames' crimes became clear when the bank transactions and the evidence of that paper were matched. February 21st, 1994, Aldrich Ames was confronted by FBI agents when he opened the door of his house in the morning. A mastermind who had fooled the largest intelligence agency in the United States for 9 consecutive years was arrested.
At the same time, his wife Rosario was also taken into police custody. On April 28, 1994, just 2 months after his arrest, Aldrich Ames pleaded guilty to treason and tax evasion in court. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
In addition, all illegal assets acquired through crime were confiscated and deposited into the government's Victim Assistance Fund.
Later, Ames' wife Rosario Ames pleaded for mercy in court on the grounds of their 5-year-old son, but he was sentenced to 63 months, 5.5 years, in prison for tax evasion and aiding and abetting espionage. After this fatal incident, the CIA was forced to make major changes to its security structure. Strict financial tracking and internal surveillance were doubled.
After spending the remaining 3 decades of his life in prison, Aldrich Ames died in a federal prison in Maryland in January 2026 at the age of 84.
The incident of Aldrich Ames has sent a profound message to the history of world politics. The most devastating blows in history do not always come from external enemies. They often come from the so-called loyalists around us.